Hello, hai, Assalamualaikum and selamat petang kepada semua warga UPM. So, hari ini kita akan bersambung kita punya cafe series iaitu Cookies and Blended bersama our invited speaker for today, Miss Puspha Sukumaran daripada CALC, also a working member of CK Inovasi Pengajaran dan Pembelajaran, CADe-Lead, and also Google Certified Educator and Apple Teacher. So, topik santai kita pada hari ini adalah passive to participative layering blended learning with interactivity. So, without further ado, Ms. Bupa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, hope everyone can hear me clearly and can see my screen. So good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Hisham and CADe-Lead for the invitation to share in this cafe series. And to everyone present, thank you for choosing to be here during your lunchtime. I really hope I can share something useful with you today. And since it is break time, please feel free to enjoy your lunch or relax with your coffee as you listen in. Today I'll be sharing the story of my journey. So santai-santai sahaja, something simple. This session is not just about a tool. It's about the reflection I had to do on my own teaching, the gaps I found, and the practices I adopted to move my students from passive to participative. Now, along the way, I'll also share a one-stop platform that helped make this shift easier and seamless. So that's how I came up with this topic, passive to participative, layering blended learning with interactivity, my reflection and practice. If my experience is relatable to you or you have similar challenges, then perhaps you can get some reinforcement and ideas from today's sharing session. Now, when I first asked myself this question, what does my ideal class look like? I imagined a room full of energy, students actively participating, asking questions, working together, just like you can see in this top two pictures, and enjoying the process of learning. But when I was honest with myself, the reality was sometimes quite different. I often saw passive learners, silent faces, and minimal interaction. It was a hard truth, but my vision of an ideal class was quite different from the reality I saw in front of me. How do I make sure students are not just present, but genuinely engaged? Not just a few confident ones, but I'm talking about everyone in the classroom. Then I asked myself another question. What does an ideal teacher look like from my students' perspective? Interesting question. We usually think of what our ideal class should look like, but we never think from the other side, right? The other perspective. So have you ever pondered over that question? Why don't we take a minute to think, what do we think students value in an ideal teacher? So if you can, please do scan this QR that you see on the screen or join this Mentimeter using the code. And it'll be interesting to see what you think students value in an ideal teacher.
Korang semua boleh scan QR.
Right. Okay, energetic, dedicated, nice. What else? unhappy, yeah, genuine, committed, knowledgeable. Interactive, nice. Approachable, yep. When we have interesting topics, yeah, I'm sure students value that. Easy to discuss, right? Smart, cool, witty, yeah, right. Thank you so much for your responses. And actually, there isn't any wrong answer per se, right? Uh, but what is the truth? According to studies, key findings shows that the following what students find ideal qualities or defining qualities that they value in their teacher. So we have understanding, uh, patience, empathy, clarity, fairness, enthusiasm, use of technology and interactivity, use of gamification and feedback. Interesting to note the letter two, isn't it? Um,
Hmm.
Now, this was again another defining moment for me because in my own reflection, I thought, yeah, they probably don't want someone who just talks at them for hours, or they probably want a teacher who listens, right? But, are there any specifics? And actually, studies show that students specifically want a teacher or value a teacher who uses technology and uses interactivity or gamification in the classroom. So if I truly want to be my student's ideal teacher, I can't stick to what works for me, but I have to shift towards what works for my students. Uh, as the finding showed earlier, understanding, understanding their needs, empathy, thinking from their shoes. And when I really thought about it, when I was preparing this presentation, students are like cookies. They're quite fragile, right? So think about forcing cookies into a container that doesn't fit or that is too small. Uh, if they are pressed into the wrong mold, they're not going to grow. Rather, they're going to crumble. So the mold that I'm using, my teaching style or methods, do they suit or fit my students? Who are my students? What kind of individuals or learners are they? Am I molding them or am I breaking them apart? So, a bit of background about me. I am from a different generation. I grew up without a mobile phone. There was no WhatsApp or Telegram when I was in school. I mean, they didn't exist. I didn't have access to my teachers' phone numbers or email addresses, nor did my parents. There was no parent teacher WhatsApp group. If I had a question about a lesson, I had to wait till the next day when I saw my teachers again in class to ask and to clarify. My first device, I remember, was a bulky white desktop with a floppy disk reader. And that too was at the age of 19 when I was already in the universities because that's when my parents could finally afford it. And prior to that, I remember having to do my assignments at the cyber cafe. I took handwritten notes when I was attending university. Uh, I recall my lecturers using OHP and the whiteboard to deliver lectures. I think maybe some of you would be able to relate to that. I even used cassette tapes to record some of my oral tasks. That was how I learned. Hmm. I feel quite ancient now. But my learners today, they are not me. Far from it. I mean, we are worlds apart, literally. Today's generation own and operate devices even before they can walk or talk. And we are talking about state of the art devices. They are different. They are digital natives. They are speedy, but with a short attention span. They require immediate feedback. They need learning that is combined with enjoyment, edutainment. Otherwise, it is too boring for them. We belong to different molds. And that's fine, but something has to change. Someone has to adapt. I was conventional in the way I learned, and therefore, when I started teaching, I carried that same way with me. But after pondering over the questions I asked earlier, I had to change. I had to become unconventional in my own terms. It was a huge change, and it is still a work in progress. Traditionally, we think of teaching as standing in front, talking through slides, and hoping students are following along, like this picture here. That's how I thought. That's how I started teaching. But teaching now is different. The role of a teacher has evolved. We're no longer that solo performer, but our role is more that of a facilitator, where we guide student discovery, we foster collaboration, we
True.
create engaging, interactive learning experiences. So we're most of the time standing at the back, like this other picture here, and watching our students learn, right? So it is less about delivery and more about participation.
True.
Whether we're using technology to support our face-to-face classes, PTS, or substituting a percentage of our face-to-face classes with technology or online learning, PTG, our goal remains the same. We want our students to have the best learning experience. So if I wanted students to move from passive listeners to active participants, I needed to rethink not just my tools, but my pedagogy. And these approaches really influenced my practice, right? First, active learning. Research consistently shows that when students are actively involved, discussing, problem solving, or answering quizzes, they're not just absorbing content, they are doing something with it. And students learn more when they do something rather than just passively listening. And gamification is another. Students today thrive on interactive challenges. Gamification taps into the motivational power of play. It's amazing how points, badges, and leaderboards influence their motivation. I mean, to me, the knowledge method, uh, but points, badges, they don't really influence my learning. But students now are different. How we convey the knowledge to them is as important. So the games are not just fun, they are actually structuring opportunities for students to practice, to give feedback, and also to help them build their confidence. So when I began layering my lessons with these principles, I noticed a change in my class atmosphere. Students who used to be quiet, they now had low stake opportunities to participate, participating without being noticed, at least for the start, right? And slowly they warm up and they open up to participate more. So activities that once, felt like a chore now becomes something that they look forward to. Now, this slide showcases practical changes I made to transform my classroom practices. They're very simple changes, whether to my teaching method or to how my students used to be and what they are now. But I think this made a lot of difference in my classroom. Blending the best of both worlds, traditional and digital learning, enhances interactivity and participation started to increase in my once passive class. So before I used to depend heavily on oral lectures and static slides. Now I try to section or uh, deliver my content in smaller portions. And I had many check-ins built into the content. So as they are learning, they are also doing something with the knowledge. Instead of just completing paper worksheets silently, I transferred those activities onto collaborative boards, polls, quizzes, where real-time contribution is made possible. Before, with my activities in class, only some students who are confident enough, they are the ones who would participate. The rest would be quiet. But now, open-ended polls or word clouds, they give everyone equal opportunity to participate. Previously, I used to depend on the formal assessments, the summative assessments, but now I try to incorporate formative assessments at the end of each module or at the end of each topic. This frequent low-stake quizzes actually enables immediate formative feedback, and we are able to tailor our next classes, our next lessons according to the results of this assessments. Previously, it was just me doing all the talking. Now, the interaction is two ways. I have to understand and accept that I'm no longer the primary source of knowledge. Students have access to technology, to AI. They can get knowledge or information or learn something through many other means, right? So my role there is that of a facilitator to just guide the process. Previously, as mentioned earlier, only confident students participated. So engagement depended on voluntary participation. Now it is kind of built into the gamification element, right? And if there are any misconceptions, they can also be detected early. Feedbacks, my students no longer have to wait for feedbacks, you know, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks, wait until I finish marking, returning it to class, to the class and discuss it in class. But it's instant during most of my activities. And note taking is no longer a passive process, but an active one with all the tools that I try to use. So these are some practical changes I made to my classroom practice. Now, we don't have to worry because we are not steering away from the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes remain the same. Students will still gain that same knowledge, skills, and practice that we intend. But the journey to those outcomes, they are transformed. And we have to accept that there isn't one right way to achieve them. These new learning pathways are structured to be more participative, more engaging, and more effective. And that is the shift we are aiming for. And this change is actually, I must say, it's quite refreshing because I don't feel like I'm the only voice in the classroom anymore. Students contribute ideas in real time, and sometimes they even surprise me with all this totally unplanned ideas and insights, right? Which then leads to a very interesting discussion. So it feels less like I'm delivering content and more like we're building the lesson together. So I am a language teacher and I teach English proficiency courses here at the university. My classes are a mix of physical and virtual, and sometimes even hybrid, depending much on whether I'm doing PTS or PTG. And I'm trying to move away from the traditional teacher talk and design lessons that are more student-centered, right? So how do I accomplish this? Since it's lunchtime, my analogies are going to be food related. Okay, so
Boleh
I
order,
have, yes,
boleh order Grab sambil-sambil tu.
boleh order Grab. Itulah, saya pun dah lapar dah tengok. So I try to layer my lessons, right? I try to deliver my content in bite sizes or smaller chunks and lace or layer them with various interactive activities and games where students continue to learn on their own, even when I'm not speaking, right? And I have the opportunity to stand back and provide them feedback only when it is absolutely necessary, right? I'm there, but I'm there to support and facilitate their learning. So what our class looks like each time is different, right? And I'm sure yours is too. It's different depending on maybe the group of students who are in front of us, maybe the time that we have, right? The topic that we're covering, or the learning objectives, or other pertinent factors. So each class is going to be different, and that's fine, right? Some classes, as you can see on the screen, they would look very simple and straightforward. Maybe we don't have much time. We want to meet the students to deliver something, but we have to do it quickly. So it could look like this plain burger, right? Just one meat patty in between two buns, right? We only have time to maybe deliver content. But at other time, our class can look like this cheeseburger, right? So we have a meat patty layered with cheese. So we can perhaps start with an activity before we get to the content, or after delivering the content for the topic, layer it with an activity. Now, if we have a bit more time, then it can look like a double cheeseburger. Two meat patties layered with double cheese in between the buns. So you can break your content into even smaller portions and layer them with activities. What if I have more time? Wow. It can look like this elaborate, supersized cheeseburger. I'm sure everyone's hungry now. I hope
And
you've had
delicious.
and
And
delicious, yeah.
delicious.
I hope everyone's had their lunch. Uh, so as you can see in this picture, right, you have the meat patties, you have cheese, you have the sunny side egg, you have sautéed mushroom, and the list goes on. So this could be likened to our class, our lesson for the day, right? So we could start with an activity maybe to tap on students' prior knowledge about something before we deliver the content. Then we can give them another activity, maybe two different types of activity before elaborating further on the content, then layering it with more activity, and perhaps then ending the class with a short formative assessment in the form of a quiz, right? So to achieve these layers, of course, it can't all come from us, right? It can if you want to do it physically, but with the help of technology, life can be much easier, right? So I've explored various tools and platforms that helps make this interactive, these activities, interactive elements that I can layer, right? So they assist me in a large way in preparation, in saving time, because all I have to do with this tools, I key in the questions and answers, and there I have it, right, to use and present in my classroom. But there are many tools out there, and the exploration of these tools is far from over because each day there is one more new tool, right? Especially with the rise of Gen AI and AI agents, right? We can even uh, become programmers. We can design and code, get AI to do the coding for us to create a game that is according to our specific requirements or needs. So it's always the learning continues, right? So there are many interactive tools out there. Some are very popular, so they make it into our favorite list. Some are unknown but quite interesting. So what you see on the screen are some tools that I have tried, right? Some I like very much, so I've continued using them. Some maybe didn't really fit my needs, so I don't use them as much, right? Some of this I'm sure you're all familiar with. I think Kahoot, Padlet, Poll Everywhere, Paddock, Canva, everyone's familiar with that, right? Socrative, right? Flipgrid is interesting. Flipgrid you can use for video discussion platforms. Uh, Quizzes, so now known as Wayground. You have Google Classroom. You have Mentimeter that you just used earlier for the word cloud. You have Trello. Trello helps us to track milestones. You have Class Dojo. Class Dojo is more like a class Instagram, right? It helps us with posting of announcements, news. We can reward points to keep the classroom community connected, basically. We have BlueKit. BlueKit allows us to create gamified quizzes, right? We have Slido, we have Genially. Genially also helps to create interactive content like quizzes, polls, infographic, interactive presentations, and all. WooClap helps to also create interactive polls, quizzes, surveys. Edpuzzle allows us to embed questions into our videos and make our videos interactive. Quizlet, I think people are familiar with this. And of course, uh, our favorite H5P, right? Uh, which allows us to create different types of interactive content, different types of questions, right? From quizzes to drag and drop to branching scenario, so on and so forth. I'm still a fan of H5P because it's embedded into the Moodle platform, our Putra Blast. So it enables easy tracking and reporting. But we need to create some variety, right? So to fulfill my PTS and PTG requirements, I use H5P, but I try to use other tools to facilitate my face-to-face delivery so that students are not always looking or doing the same things, right? Remember, they have short attention span and they always want something that's entertaining. So if you show them the same thing over and over again, I think in no time they're going to be bored, right? So what is in your teaching toolbox, right? I'd like to find out how many of you use the tools. Maybe you use other tools than the ones that I showed. It's okay. But how many tools or platforms are you currently using or that you're familiar with? Or let's stick to what you're currently using, right? Maybe you're familiar with a few, but which ones are you using? So if you can scan this QR, or I have also shared in the chat the link to this platform.
I think link tu ada problem eh?
Kejap saya cuba. Okay, sorry. Can you try this link instead?
Okay. Kita kena sign in eh?
You just have to sign in. Very simple sign in.
Okay.
When you get to this platform, nearpod.com, you should see a box that says sign up for free for teachers. So just use that and sign up with your uh, UPM email ID.
Got it?
Okay. Too many. 5 to 6, 3 to 4, all right?
Chong lagi banyak, katanya.
I think Chong needs another option.
Yes, unlimited. Infinity.
Yeah,
Tapi Chong pilih C. C is 3 to 4.
he's being modest. Okay, so I think most of us do use some tools at least, right? We may have, our favorite 3 or 4 that we keep going back to, right? But each of those tools or platforms, they can, most of them can only do any one thing, right? Maybe a Mentimeter, okay, we can do a poll or a word cloud, or we use Kahoot for quizzes, right? Uh, and some other tools achieves something else. Now, what if there was a tool that can help us accomplish a few things, right? So earlier on, we looked at the beautiful burgers, right? Now, if you had the bun on one plate, the meat on another, the mushrooms on another, it's going to be kind of tedious to try and assemble and then eat them, right? But if it's served to us in one plate, right, already assembled, it's going to be easy. So if there was one platform or one tool that can allow me to accomplish my entire lesson, right? So entire lesson would mean my content, all the varied activities that I want to do, and even my assessment, right? Do I have one such tool or platform? And that is how I discovered Nearpod, right? And over time, I must say it has become one of my go-to tools for powering participation because it helps my students participate without having to move around too much, right? So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the benefits Nearpod offers in a blended setting, how Nearpod features help turn challenges into opportunities, and I will also show you some real classroom examples, demonstrate how to use the platform, and maybe also share some reflection that you can perhaps adapt for your own teaching. So previously, to make lessons interactive, I found myself juggling through these multiple platforms, right? Padlet for brainstorming, Edpuzzle for videos, and so on and so forth. So it felt sometimes scattered and a bit overwhelming, not just for me, but also my students, because imagine having multiple tabs open or having to log in and log out of different accounts, right? So is there a way to bring all these uh, activities or elements together and make participation seamless, right? So Nearpod is actually a one-stop center for interactive learning because it uh, offers the features of the tools we already know, right? So similar to Kahoot and quizzes, it offers us quizzes and gamified activities, right? Known as Time to Climb in Nearpod. It has a collaborative board similar to Padlet. It has interactive video similar to Edpuzzle. And like Poll Everywhere, it also enables live polls. And like Pear Deck, we can also incorporate our content using interactive slide. So in short, Nearpod is a hub where all these tools come together in one place, reducing friction, saving time, and keeping students focused in one space. And why is this tool particularly useful in a blended setting? Is its flexibility. So I can use it in live participation mode, just like how we used it earlier. So students will follow along slide by slide according to the teacher. So this works well in a physical class or a synchronous online class. Or I can switch to student pace mode, which lets learners go through the lesson at their own pace. Perfect for homework, self-study, or flipped classroom setups. In both modes, the platform ensures that every student responds because I'm able to see a report that shows if my students have participated, right? So this allows my passive learners, my once passive learners, to now become active participants and participants who truly participate and enjoy the process of doing it. All right, so here you can see some features that Nearpod has, right, that we can use in our lesson, right? Some of my personal favorites that I keep going back to would be this few listed on top. The polls and quizzes, the collaborate board. I use the draw it that that allows students to draw or annotate using their devices. Time to climb is the gamified quiz, right? So I use this a lot. Interactive video, and I also use the integration of resources. So if I want to give my students a PDF or a PowerPoint slide to refer to, I can also park it within my Nearpod lesson. So in a physical classroom, Nearpod helps me to engage the whole room. Students just need a phone or a laptop to join. They don't need to download an app. Just a simple sign in is required, right? So I could maybe do a poll to check their prior knowledge on something. And within seconds, I can see students' responses projected on the screen, and we can discuss the results together. And if it is a virtual classroom, then it solves the problem of students zoning out behind their cameras, right? So when I use the collaborate board, for example, every student can post their ideas. So the session feels less like a one-way lecture and more like a conversation. So here's an example of a Nearpod lesson that I created for my foundation English class this semester. So these are pre-university, our Asputra students, right? So 2 weeks ago, I had to introduce the writing module to them, specifically pertaining to their Mohd task 1, where they are going to respond to a form of correspondence. So instead of using multiple applications, I chose to design the entire lesson using Nearpod. So in total, 17 slides, right? Let me try to open this up. So in total, 17 slides, and I broke the content for the lesson into 4 small manageable sections, and I layered them with interactive elements, right? So right after introducing the topic, the learning objectives, and the relevance of the topic to them, I got them to watch this video that I embedded, some questions in as well, that introduced them to the Mohd writing task 1. Then a poll to just see what type of written communication do they use often. Then I moved on to the second segment of my content where we discuss differences and similarities between formal and informal correspondences, followed by another activity, this time round an open-ended question, where students shared a situation where they had to write a formal letter or email. Then moving on to the third segment of my content, we discuss the components of an email and letter. And these are just highlights, right? Because students have the full lecture notes in front of them that they can refer to for elaborations. But these slides are used just to highlight key points on the screen.
But the one that you showed just now is using Nearpod, right?
Yes, this entire lesson is using Nearpod. So I have some slides followed by activities, then slides, activities, right? So this one is an activity called Collaborative Board, very similar to Padlet, right? So I have a question here and students are required to post their answers for this question. And then on to the last segment of the content, talking about the purpose of the letter, format and style considerations, right? So these are slides. And I have a final activity, a matching pair to wrap up the lesson. So the interactive activities layered in between the content, they actually created natural pauses for question and answer, discussion, and feedback. And different activities would help us achieve different objectives, right? A warm-up poll to maybe activate prior knowledge, a short video clip with questions or quiz to check on their understanding. Then we can get them to share their ideas on a collaborate board that would lead to a bigger discussion. So the result of using this Nearpod lesson, I spoke less, my students participated more. And the classroom energy felt very different compared to a traditional lecture. Here's another example of layering a lesson. This time round, maybe the topic uh, is about enhancing reading comprehension and critical thinking. So what kind of activities can we use to layer our content with, right? Okay, so now let's see Nearpod closer, right? So earlier on, you had all, or most of you have already signed up, right? So if you can go back to that. Okay, so once you've signed up uh, or you've logged in, right, using your account, you should see this. This is your Nearpod dashboard, right? Now, there are three types of plans. Silver is the free plan, and I'm still using the silver plan, actually. Then you have the gold and the platinum plans, which are the paid plans, right? Of course, what you get with each plan varies, but for now, I'm quite happy with my silver plan. And uh, I used the my UPM email to sign up for the account, right? So on the dashboard, you will see just like Canva, right? I think a lot of us or most of us are familiar with Canva. So you see all your lessons here. So you don't see that many lessons because I have organized my lessons in these folders, right? So if you can see on top here, there are folders. So you can click on add folder, create a folder. And once you have a folder created, you can add your lessons from the dashboard into the folder, right? So making your dashboard uh, more organized. Okay.
Macam Canva a bit, eh?
Betul, macam Canva. So, where is my navigation menu? So if you look on to the left-hand side, on top, you have these three dots right next to the Nearpod logo. So if you click on the three dots, right? Your navigation menu will open up, and it's a very simple menu. You have create a new lesson. That's all that you need, right? And of course, you have the list of folders. So click on create a new lesson, and you arrive here, okay? Your options as to how you're going to create the lesson, right? Now, another way you can get to this box, if you don't want to click on the menu button, do you see this top part here, launch the lesson builder? If you click on that, you will also arrive at the same box, right? So create a lesson. You have the option of creating it from scratch, uploading a lesson, or exploring the Nearpod library, right? I'm not sure um, how much of the library you can use. Sometimes some lessons are used just as an introduction to a topic, right? Because they're meant to serve lower grade students, right? Younger students. So maybe not so applicable for or suitable for our university students. But there are some interesting videos and lessons that we can use as an introduction. Now, I usually go for the create a lesson from scratch. So if we click on this, okay, you arrive here. And again, you have three options as to how you are going to create this lesson. From blank slide and activities, you want to use pre-made activities or upload materials. So again, I usually use the blank slide and activities. Click on that, and you come here where you choose whether you are going to incorporate a slide, incorporate activities, right? Or incorporate media, right? And if you look under activities, you have multiple choice quiz, you have time to climb, which is the gamified quiz, you have drag and drop, right? You have draw it, where you can turn an image to an interactive page where students can actually write or draw on. You have open-ended question, you have collaborate board, you have poll, matching pairs, quiz, memory test, and fill in the blanks. And for media, you can upload materials, additional reading that you want to share with your student, maybe in the form of an audio, a podcast, or a PDF, or a presentation. You can do that here. Videos that you want to share but embed questions in them, interactive videos, slideshows, web content, and interesting VR field trip and Nearpod 3D. So those of you who are teaching sciences, maybe you would find this interesting or useful. For me, I was thinking about it. Maybe if I want my students to write a descriptive essay or paragraph, I would use these features, right? Okay, so assuming I want to start with a blank slide. So I click on the blank slide, right? So you see the slide, okay? And on the right, you see slide themes and add questions with AI. So you can click slide themes and choose the different themes and just prepare your slide as you would in a regular PowerPoint, right? Uh, Type in the text. On top here, you have this menu bar as well, where you can insert images, change the background, insert videos, and so on and so forth. Now, usually we have our own PowerPoint slides already prepared. Okay, so if we want to use existing slides, we just click on this drop-down arrow, right? Next to add new, you see a drop-down arrow, and you can choose upload files. And I can upload a PowerPoint, PDF, or image files. Now, let me just try to demonstrate that. The only setback if you try to uh, upload a PowerPoint slide is sometimes you may have to do some minor formatting, right? Because the formatting goes a bit haywire. Not too much, right? Just minor adjustments to maybe the font and all that.
Is it better upload as image?
Yes, image would be better.
Okay.
Image would be better, but you can do either, right? Okay, so once I have dragged and dropped the PowerPoint file, it will take a minute to process, right? And then, okay, if you can see on the left, my PowerPoint slides have all been loaded, right? Can you see?
Hmm.
So they're all here. Then you can go in and, make whatever adjustments or changes needed or required. So this would be your PowerPoint slide, how to insert your slides. Now, after adding slides, I want to add maybe a multiple choice question or a time to climb. Let's go with time to climb. This is a gamified quiz. So I tick on this. I add selected at the bottom here. All right. And then I just type in my question, right? And my answer options, I can keep adding answers if required. Right? So let's say,
Dia ada limit number of pages tak? Puspha. Untuk
uh, no, not number of pages, but if you see on top here, each lesson is 40 MB.
40 MB. Okay.
So as long as you don't exceed this, it should be okay, right? So let's say I have, I want to add more answers, right? Then I add a question, right?
This one in between the slide, is it?
I can create it first, and then I can just drag and drop it wherever I
Okay.
want within the slide, right? And you have an option to add reference image. You can set the timer, right? And all that. So let's say this is,
Sambil-sambil tu, I baca soalan
mm,
ada soalan kata, can this be embedded in our Putra Plus? Like copy HTML code or paste into HTML box in Putra Plus?
yes,
Okay,
we can.
can. Alright.
So you can change the lesson name to lesson 1, right? And you can keep adding more stuff, right? I'll show you this VR field trip. It's quite interesting, actually. Of course, you choose from the library, the existing library, but you can search for some destinations. What you see on this page are not it. Uh, but it's very interesting if you have, the right equipments, the experience that you get or your students get can be valuable. Okay, sorry, my internet is lagging a bit, so it's taking longer. All right, so I'll just show you. You see on this left-hand side, the field trip is my slide 11. So if I wanted to move, I just drag and drop it where I want it to be. All right, okay. And yeah, you can keep adding the lessons, right? According to what elements you want. So assuming I'm happy with the lesson created, I click preview lesson to have a look or save and exit. Okay, so the lesson created is here. Now, if you want to teach the lesson, you click on teach, all right? And let's say student pays, right? I want to assign this as homework. You get this pop-up with the code. You can give students this code. or you can just copy the link, or you can embed this, right? You can even set how long you want to make this lesson available to the students, right?
So yang
Another,
embed ke Putra Blast tu, you boleh klik URL or embed punya option, right?
betul. So you can paste the link in Putra Blast, or you can just use the embed code. Another way, like earlier you saw in my slide, I had the uh, Nearpod embedded, right? So I
Mhm.
can click on these three dots here and click share and click embed, copy this embed code, and
Mm.
I can just embed it onto my slides or into Putra Blast. Just open a page, choose tools, uh, paste the code there, and it will be nicely embedded for your students to see on the main course page itself,
Yeah. Mm.
right? So that is how Nearpod works, right? So it's actually quite simple and easy to use. I'm sure you'd agree. There are not too many steps. It's very simple, and it really does transform the classroom, right? So my students, they enjoyed it very much. I usually try to get some feedback from them. And if you have a look, most of the feedback are positive. Uh, it really helps them to retain the knowledge, remember things better, and they like the interaction it enables, right? Uh, I also try to, maybe reward them with some treats here and there to further motivate them, and they enjoy it. And I enjoy watching the students learning from the back. Yeah. Um, Now, uh, are there challenges? Of course, there are challenges, right? The most obvious would be device and internet dependency. If Wi-Fi drops or students don't bring their devices, then it can be tricky. But so far in my synchronous classroom, in my face-to-face classes, it's never a problem. Students always have their devices. But asynchronous classes can be a challenge, maybe because of Wi-Fi connection, right? And another challenge is preparing the interactive content. So the initial preparation does take time, but as you become familiar with the platform, it will become easier. And once you've created a lesson, like in Nearpod, you have the option of duplicating it and adapting it. So you don't have to recreate again. And if you're teaching the same course next semester or the following year, you can always reuse what you have created. And of
Cuma,
course, mm,
cuma tadi I perasan when you click on teach,
mm,
dia ada dua option kan.
betul.
Satu macam live teaching,
Yes.
the other one is student based.
Mm.
Yang kalau kita nak embed dalam Putra Plus, kita perlu pilih yang the student based lah kan? Ke
It can be either.
either? Oh, okay, alright.
It can be either. So if you want to start, of course, I would encourage you to start small, maybe, just embed or use one interactive element, right? And build up gradually. And always think of Nearpod as a complement, right? So I would strongly recommend that you embed the Nearpod lesson in your Putra Blast so that all your materials are in one place. So to summarize Nearpod in one phrase, I think it is a one-stop interactive hub because there are quite a lot of things that you can do on this using this one tool or platform, right? So instead of juggling through different apps, we can actually create an engaging lesson all in one place. Before your next class, take a moment to reevaluate your teaching methods. If required, try to implement small changes that promotes active learning. Try to make learning more meaningful and enjoyable to our students. Then plan and try to incorporate at least one Nearpod feature or one interactive feature, right? And you can see right away how it changes the dynamic of your classroom. That is all from me. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Over to you, Dr. Hisham.
Thank you so much, Miss Puspha. Very interesting sharing session. So saya open Q&A session untuk semua warga UPM yang mungkin ada nak tanya lagi pada Miss Puspha. Yang di chatbot, I think I read everything. So kalau ada lagi soalan, feel free to unmute your mic and ask the questions. Ada soalan?
Chong is a paddock fan.
Yes.
Paddock is nice. Nearport can do that and more, I think.
The thing is, Padex, right?
Mm,
They have all the free features for 1 month if
mm.
you're using new email. Then after that, after they realize you are educated, they'll give you another 3 months. So every new Gmail, you can use 4 months full features. So
Mhm.
then when expired, then change to another Gmail. So the FedEx have all the activity. Nearport is quite good lah. It's like even educator they lock a lot of features. Yeah,
True,
that's the
true.
thing why I like FedEx lah.
Yeah. I watched some of the videos shared by other educators who are on paid version, and there are actually a lot more features on Nearport that they have access to. But okay lah, I feel like to start, it's quite useful to have. I mean, it's always a plus to have more than one tool in your toolkit, right?
True. Cuma
Maybe
tadi
we
yang
can suggest to
ah,
KPT to
Yeah.
subscribe for all educators. Yeah.
Mm.
so kalau yang paid version, how much, Miss Puspa?
I think the gold is $170 a year,
Oh
and
yeah,
then the platinum is 300 something. Yeah.
per
So
year, yeah.
per year. And now in Airport, you also have the AI feature. So you can use AI to help you generate the question.
Now all platform got AI lah. Everything marketing as AI.
True.
FedEx also AI. Yeah.
Betul. Semua pun.
So,
Uh,
any more questions? Kita dah 2-3 minit. I think I believe semua orang dah lapar tengok burger tadi.
yeah.
So, if there is no questions, I think earlier tadi ada maklumat tentang Miss Puspa. Feel free to contact her through email. I think most of us mungkin dah kenal Miss Puspa, CKIPP juga di CADe-Lead. So thank you so much, Miss Puspa, for your time and for your sharing sessions. So hope to see you soon in any wahana yang diturunkan oleh UPM nanti.
Yes, betul. In the next work
Yeah.
meeting.
Alright, thank you semua yang dapat hadir hari ini. Semoga sharing session hari ini bermanfaat. Stay tuned for the next cafe series session. Akan dimaklumkan time-to-time melalui email UPM. With that, thank you so much everyone. Semoga had a great lunch. Mungkin ada yang nak cari burger lepas ni. Alright, take
Excited.
care. Thank you semua.
Thank you,
Stay safe.
everyone. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.